Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Lift with Sheila Robinson Kiss. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have this special guest today. You know, this channel focuses on mental health, movement, motivation, and relationship advice. And our guest, Claudine Chiarmonte, she has a lot to say about relationships, in which she's just bursting with information. So, Claudine, I want to welcome you to the program.
Thank you. Delight to be here and be with you, Sheila.
You're so very welcome. You know, I want to give you all a little bit of background on how I met this brilliant soul. I had just moved to New Jersey about a decade ago, getting established. I did not know a soul. Walked into her office and you hired me for a training position, and so many good things flowed from that time period. So thank you for my job. I loved being able to pay my mortgage and my car note. So, and I'll tell you, what stood out for me then and still stands out for me now is your kindness, your compassion, and your attention to detail. And those are all things that are so necessary for this profession that you're just knocking the ball out of the park in. And we're going to dive in just a minute, but I want to let the subscribers know a little bit about you. So you guys hold on to your hats. It's just all good stuff. Claudine is a gifted psychotherapist, coach, speaker, over 27 years experience transforming lives. I mean, she has worked with Fortune 500 companies, individuals, and bringing this signature humor, wisdom, and just pure empowerment to help transform people's lives. She blends Eastern and Western philosophies and really specializes in taking her clientele on a journey of discovery. And I hope we'll have a little bit of time, Claudine, to talk about this life-transforming circumstance you had, a near fatal car accident that really served as a great awakening and led you further into this work. I also want to share that her innate gifts, this softness about you makes it so easy for your clients to connect with you and become vulnerable. And what I love most is you help people break these patterns of tolerating dissatisfaction, which is so prolific in relationships and in life. And one of the things that we have in common, Claudine, I'm a lover of relationships. I'm fascinated by them because I tell my subscribers and my audiences, every relationship we have, you will experience a different version of yourself. Some for the better, some not. So I would love to jump in and just start, picking your brain and ask you, what are some of the great challenges that couples are facing, that people are facing in relationships? So take it away.
Sure. I want to put some context here. We have the dynamics and we have COVID, right? We've never had a pandemic. Yeah, we're coming through it at this point. So what I think that did was it kind of took things and squeezed us all into some spaces, literally and relationally, and our inner resources. So what I would say are challenges that got highlighted, it wasn't that they weren't there before COVID or during COVID or post-COVID, right? It's still this place of how do we become a we? How do we navigate in emerging of I am who I am, you are who you are, but there's a we space now, right? Because we are really engineered about me. It's about me, my life, my goals, my education, my success, right? My needs, my desires, and having couples come together to negotiate that, right? And create agreements. And this is not black and white. This is not a business deal, but there's a place of this communication, right? And recognizing because we didn't get a rule book. I didn't get a rule book. I don't know, my marriage. Yeah. So how do we learn how to create this space and container for us to come together in? And I think that's a challenge, because we also bring with us, as you said, other versions. I think there's also times that we're also bringing our attachment patterns from our own childhood.
Mm-hmm.
The image of how we wanted to be treated, or the impact of trauma of how we were treated.
Mm.
And it gets played out. I need you to be, and you're not doing that for me. And why not? And you're not listening. And not saying that's not real. It's very real to the person who had an experience.
Yes.
But until we can create a we, it's you've got to fulfill me. You've got to heal me. And how do we do that together? Because I don't want to see you re-injured, and I don't want to injure you. So how do we talk about our own wounds, our old attachment needs, and not be like, that's your problem, right? How do we start to create safety together?
I love what you shared, and the core, the essence of your work. I feel that it would be ideal, frankly, for all couples in America to go through this. But what you're saying about attachment style, and then you said it's being played out. And so there's an underbelly here where awareness, the self-awareness is key, because what I found is, certainly for myself, having gone extensively on, a help journey that's never ending, the awareness was the big breakthrough. So my question for you is, how do you think, it's a multifaceted question. How do you think issues around self-awareness, history, culture, mindset, this interplay inside the couplehood, if you will, is how do you, position those? Because I think without honest awareness, it's very difficult.
I agree. And I know that you and I probably have a similar agreement on this. People tend to go in to get help. And I say help, that could be minister, therapist, coach, course, workshops, when they're like, either, I don't think this is going to work. Like they're at the end, or they're like, we'll see. Let's see, right? Like there's this standoff, right? That's not self-awareness. The self-awareness is, hun, something's not working for me here, right? And that first time that one of your, like a partner comes to you and says, it's not working, business partner, colleague, relationship,
right,
there's a stop, pause, because there's awareness in that moment that someone had the courage to say, something's not aligned here for us.
I love that.
My experience, you don't have to agree with me, but as long as one in the couplehood is saying it, something is not, in alignment. And I do usually think it takes that person. I do think in couplehoods and relationships, usually is someone who may have a breakthrough at a different time than the other. And can we bring that back to the couplehood and make a choice? But our history plays into all this too, right? Because often what it does is it kicks up shame or defensiveness in our partners, or even ourselves. We had the awareness like, oh, how can I tell it to them that it's going to hurt them? We have all these stories, I call them, and they're real, but there are lots of them are generational stories that get played out here now. Like, if I need help, does that mean I don't know how to have a relationship? Am I going to end up like them? Right. However, so there's this mindset that starts to play about, and we just keep making stories. It gets worse unless someone can be like, it's okay. Right. And I think it's a post-COVID gift was mental health services have never been used at the rapid rate they are right now in our country. Right. Private practices are booming, telehealth is booming, because I think people finally said, oh, I don't have to do this alone.
Yes.
And if we could surrender the lone wolf, that I've got to have it right, I have to be perfect story that comes from our family, from our own inner dialogue, and go, we're in this together. I come from a belief system and we're ecologically all connected.
Yes.
So if my sister or my brother are hurting, then how do I not help? Or, right, like we would do that for each other. We do it for our friends. And yet for ourselves, we're like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the awareness is an opening. I call it the invitation. And we can
Yes.
extend that to our partner and create safety. Because I think that's one of the things that's happened, even COVID in just relationships. If we haven't felt safe in ourselves and the environment's not giving us safety signals, then how safe am I going to be to bring that to you?
It really makes perfect sense. And, something else you said, a word sticks out of when someone is coming to you and has the courage to do that, because it does require vulnerability.
Yeah.
And the next word is the D word, defensiveness.
Mhm.
If you could share some of your wisdom with us around, number one, the roots of this defensive response and how we can possibly cut through that so that we can get some sort of alignment. It might not be perfect alignment, but I don't know about you, but I've been in the position where I've made myself vulnerable, nervous, what have you, to open my mouth, and not always a partner, a romantic relationship, if you will, but across the board.
Mhm.
And being met or blasted with this energy. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is the last thing I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And now we're off to the races.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I think we've all can identify with that, Sheila. The defensiveness is so historical. We're always like, I always say, are we walking around like this? Energetically, I think a lot of us do. Right? I've got to guard, I have to defend. As Brene Brown, I'm armored up. You're not going to get in here. And when we're going to have a difficult conversation, a vulnerable conversation, an honest conversation, right? That person who says, I'm willing to take off some of my armor and sit in front of you. And, I don't know who I'm going to be met with, right? Because I may be met with the force of your ancestors. And they'll be like, oh no.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I hit a shame chord in you, or a not good enough, like one of our inner, I call them our core beliefs. One of we live like they're truths, but they're not.
Yeah.
But if one of those core beliefs get activated, the armor's there.
Yes.
And I often say, if the invitation can't be met, don't force it. So I also recommend the couples, if you're going to have, and this could be business partnerships, how do we connect ahead of time? Like, hey, I got something to talk to you. Like, I got to talk to you, right? That's probably already going to put the person's nervous system like, okay, I really say connect, right? Take some breaths together. Right? That might not be appropriate for business, but it may be like, hey, just want to take a second. They don't need to know like, oh, I'm doing something frou-frou. It's just like, you get to be grounded and not attached to the outcome. Like, I'm going to offer the invitation. If I see the other person's not ready, and I certainly don't like being blasted, and I've had my share. It's like, great, this conversation gets to happen. It doesn't happen. And it's not going to happen now. And I'm not attached to, no, I was ready. We're going to talk. We're going to finish this.
Yeah.
Then you're doing this, right? It's like, okay, we get to have this conversation. We're both ready. And I want to create that with you.
It's powerful. It makes perfect sense. And I'm wondering if you can share with us some ideas and ways to deepen connection and intimacy. I mean, maybe things aren't completely derailed in a relationship, but you just want that harmony, a higher level of harmony and balance. Are there suggestions you have?
Sure. I mean, and I'm going to say this is for friendships, but I know we're talking about more romantic relationships. So I want to, if I could do two buckets, there's the actions, right? Date night, state of the union or care and connections, right? Like where we're really intentionally putting time to say what's working, what's not working, what do we get to add? Always start those meetings with what I appreciate about you now. Always.
Yeah.
Right. We're putting our time on the calendar for dates, for romance, for friendship lunches or petty manis or whatever they may be.
Yeah.
There's an intentionality of saying, you matter to me. We matter to me. I'm going to block this out. That doesn't mean, oh, I'll just put my phone down. Right. So I would say there's actions, but I think intentions are important because you use the word harmony. Right. I get to love you the way you get to be loved. Right. I'm big on the languages of love, not as a blueprint, but why would we not use a guide? It's
Right.
not about how I think you should receive love.
Right.
It's not how I think you should expect quality time, which is not my love language.
Yes.
I get to surrender for you to teach me. I get to be in a relationship enough that I want to learn. How do I love you? What does love mean to you? Over and over again. I choose you. I choose how to love you the way you get to be loved. Right. That's very different. I think a lot of people, like I mind read, I love them this way. They should do the same to me. Like,
That's
no,
right.
Your
That's
words of
right.
affirmation, you got to teach them words of affirmation if that's not their context. So I think there's that part. And I don't want to underestimate some other things. Safety. I know it's been a big used word in somatics and in coaching in these past years. And I don't think people understand the safety is psychologically, neurologically, biologically. It's an emotional experience that you know when you're safe. You can, you could regulate. I could regulate with you. You could regulate yourself. And safety really is, again, right? There's no harm here. There's a shared intention and shared vision, right? There's attunement. I could I could see, I saw you make that face. Like, let me be in curiosity and listening, not just to words, but to everything you share. Yes. So I don't want to underestimate safety and attunement. Other thing I would say is repair. One of the things that we don't do well, because again, not in our rule book, was how do we come back together after conflict, after disagreement? A lot of people I work with feel like, I hate having conflict. It's like conflict is as natural as breath. It's joy and it's an emotion. It's an experience. It doesn't define a relationship, but how we come back together can set a tone, and it can either bring alignment or not alignment. So is there ownership? Yes. Is there an apology of not, I'm so sorry you feel bad about that. So sorry you got angry. No, it's not an apology, people.
That's right.
I recognize that when I said that you got angry, and I'm sorry about that. There's an acknowledgement that starts with I, right? There is, how do we come back to we? How do we create the yes again, right? And how do we end in appreciation for each other? That we have not broken bond. We can bring safety back, but there is a need for repair. Again, it's an invitation, and everyone's ready at it at the same time. Some people I work with, they're like, I need a day. And the other person will be like, I could do this in about an hour. I forgive and forget. Yeah. There's no right and wrong. It's what we get to honor that pacing. How attuned are we? Yes. That we recognize our partner, right? And their language and their needs, not about our needs, because a lot of us want to get out of the uncomfortable stage and let's go back to harmony and fun and joy. I also think couples, I'm going to say this, and everybody also needs other support and space. So let me just say, right, like we're in couplehood together. It doesn't mean you and I only meet each other's needs. I need my friends. I need my support groups. I need accountability also outside the relationship. I call it the sixth love language, which is space. There's gets to also be the space of me and we, because I get to tend to this and tend to me as a vessel so that I can come in and be in that connection with you. Yes. And I think, some people, have some responses from their own trauma. It may not be their love language. And it's like, but I should be it all. Like, no. Yeah. No one should be everything's all. Yeah. So and it's something, it's a place that, you could be at a very different place than your partner. And, one of the things, and I hope you'll give us just a few more moments to speak to this. There's nothing wrong with raising your hand and saying, I think I need some support.
perhaps I need to retool. Certainly I myself, again, our healing, our evolution, our learning is ongoing. But, one of the greatest things I ever did for myself was receive support inside of various help journeys and connecting with folks that I trust, competent people. And I view it as a gift to the self. So can you say a few words about the power of connecting to support and allowing yourself to do that? And it doesn't mean, you're bad, you're wrong. I view it as a gift. I wonder if you can say a few words.
Same here. I'm a seeker. And, I appreciate my father planted the seeds of psychotherapy at a time that it was unheard of for his generation. So that's probably over 40 years ago. And I agree, right? Because if you think of, I'll use the metaphor, we're soil. Soil needs to be fertilized and fed and given water. And right, we get to include things that enrich us, that deepen us, that evolve us, expand us. So our capacity to be in relation, to be a vessel of service, grow with us again, right? Because my fruits hopefully will serve everyone I touch and impact. And whatever that looks like for people, it may be faith, it may be coaching, it may be a women's group. I'm part of a women's group that we do a book club, and it's the vulnerability, it's the sharing, it's the filling each other up, right? My pitcher always has space to receive. My soil always has the capacity to have more given. And it's in that place that we have more, but I think people feel like I should have it all. I'm a container. Right? No, and there's so many mechanisms out there. However that is, I think of podcasts and music and dance, and there's all these ways of allowing us to be in this incredible body. And I will tell you, I'm also a woman of faith. So I also believe relationships are not just about we meet each other's needs. It's how do we transcend together in service of God, creator, source, universe, however word resonates with you. I think there's also something in having that relationship, because we haven't figured this all out, right? This life is a mystery. We want to think we understand it all. And how else are we surrendering? Because that's what partnership's about. The act of loving is an act of surrender. The act of faith in a higher power, the creator, is an act of surrendering. And I think that's the gift we give ourselves when we allow ourselves to be fed.
To be fed and to be supported. I was with a group of women a few weeks ago, and I found it interesting how people define success or failure in a relationship. And I was speaking with one of the women, and she said, I just feel, I feel so judged. I feel like a failure. This relationship didn't work out. And I said, I would invite you based on what you shared with all of us. It sounds like a glorious triumph that you had the courage to exit something with as much compassion as you could that was not authentically, you weren't, it was not, the alignment wasn't there. So can you just say a word or two about being careful of how you define the success?
I appreciate that. I actually prefer the word fulfillment over success, because I feel success is accomplished oriented, and that's our society. Hi, how are you? What do you do? Right? We're gonna find your value based on your accomplishment and what you do and the salary. Fulfillment is a platter. If life is a buffet, this is what you have. The universe is saying, go, feed on this, enjoy the bounty. And fulfillment is self-defined, but I love the word alignment, because that's how right? Hey, if my system doesn't do dairy, I'm not in alignment with that part of the buffet. Right. Be in tuned to what is, and it is grace, and it is courage to go, I'm not in alignment.
It's grace.
It's a huge lesson. That's really one of the endings that I recently have gone through. And what I will say is, when we define it as a failure because it didn't work out the way Hollywood has relationships, that is it's so diminishing of what we've put in, what we've learned, the gifts, even in our pain and our loss, there's gifts that this person revealed. My magnificence, I got to witness someone else's magnificence. And you go, there's no loss, there's no failure in that, right?
There is only the triumph of the evolution. And I call it honoring the sojourn. And we cannot go wrong when we take that path, and the other piece, we all reach places based on our experience. And I don't know about you, but my 3 favorite words are ease, joy, and glory. Ease, joy, and glory. And where there's the alignment isn't there, I've given myself permission to, that's fine, that's okay. It's not there. I need to be authentic with that. And how can that not bubble up in relationships? So that's a core message I want people to understand.
I completely agree with you. And, for me, it's always shared vision. So my vision is freedom and joy. If I am not, if it's not serving that and I'm in my own way, right, there's a lesson there. And I just welcome people not to define success by how society's got it. It's got to be your definition of it. Fulfillment, I think, opens us up to even more.
Great.
And again, that's the history, that's our ancestors, that's our society, right? We're all molded. When you gotta go inward, we're all molded by our communities and our families and our society and our institutions. And it's a great journey. And I think it's one of the things of why I love to work with couples is, right, they're like always giving birth, right? Each day, I say this, each day you have a choice.
Yes.
Are you choosing each other that day? Are you choosing yourself each day? It's a conscious choice, because when you have that intention, you will see it through. And even if the choice is, I'm not in alignment anymore, that's an authentic choice. It's saying, today I choose me because we're not in alignment any longer. But thank you. I
love how you position that wisdom. Now, I have a little gift for you, but before that, I wonder if you could, certainly I have gone on to your YouTube channel. I enjoyed so much of what I saw there. I wonder if you could share with the viewers, and I'm telling you guys right now, underneath this video, go on and subscribe. You might as well get on the joy train right now. There's good stuff there. I wonder if you can share a little bit of what they're going to find on your channel. And if they're excited and, I like what she's saying, and, I want to get some of that alignment and some support, tell them about your channel and then how they can reach you.
Sure. Break Through the Ordinary is the name of our YouTube channel. It's also the name of our podcast. It's co-hosted by my brother, Mark. He's older than I. And it is really a vision that we have about bringing thought leaders, healers, entrepreneurs, coaches, therapists together to have conversations to, expand how we think we've got it, right? That there's tools and tips and wisdoms that no one has to think the way I have it is the way it is, right? What can I gain? We say in coaching, if I can move your window 1%, that means there's new possibilities for you. And that's what we're here about, is what new possibilities are available to you that you didn't even know. Tune in and turn in, tap in, there's so much there. So that's what you can always expect is, there are different kind of conversations, right? There can be on masculine, feminine energy. They could be on mental health. It could be on grief. It could be on somatics in relationships or how to co-regulate. So there's a variety with the intentionality of bringing it back to self and other, that we are in union. And we look to create communion between people. And that's what we do. As coaches and as a psychotherapist, we actually have a very unique thing called the Real Life Lab, where we have a group coaching program with men and women, and they test everything you and I are talking about. When I say test, it's like they get to express their needs and how they're received, what was going on for them, like what was the conversation, so we could tap into their mindset, their patterns and conditions, and open them up to a new experience of themselves that they haven't had before.
Nice.
So it's a very unique, creative system. We just started this past year. We've been in different coaching programs. We're like, right, people get coached, then they go out there and they test it and they come back, and that's all good. I'm not here. I'm a coach and a psychotherapist. I have my private practice. There's also something about how do we build the muscle together? Because it's not, everyone needs to build the muscle. How to be in relation, how to honor you and how to honor ourselves.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to have the link certainly to your YouTube channel so they can go directly and go on and subscribe now to that channel. That's fantastic. And then I'll also add the link that if anyone's interested directly to get a hold of you for some of this, expert and robust support. So everyone, I just encourage you, follow through and let the joy and information flow. Now, I don't do a lot of interviews, but when I do, I love to leave my guest with a hand-selected quote. So I went through my archives, and I'd like to honor you with a quote that jumped out. I thought about your kindness, your compassion, your expertise. And the quote that I picked out for you is by Dennis Gaskill. And to me, it's just beautiful. And he says, to help yourself, help others. Whatever good you do travels a circle and returns to you many times over. But remember, life isn't about what you get. It's about what you become. So I think you are becoming this incredible being, illuminating the world. You don't just do the work. What I love about you and your body of work is you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk. So I just wish you continued success on your journey. And I'm just so excited to introduce you to my wonderful audience and subscribers. And I just encourage you all to connect with her because you're in for a real treat. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you, Sheila. It's a gift to connect with you again. And thank you. I think we're all becoming. And that's the beautiful thing about life.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.